Have you ever stopped to wonder why you're so drawn to a certain color? Maybe it's red, blue, green, maybe even a rare shade like lavender or burnt orange. Whatever it is, it probably feels personal, almost like it chose you. But what if your favorite color wasn't just a matter of taste? What if it was a symbolic fingerprint, something revealing, even sacred, about who you are at the deepest level? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the most powerful truths are often hidden in plain sight. And color, something we encounter every single day, may be one of those hidden truths. You see, Jung was fascinated by symbolism. To him, the world around us was full of signs and archetypes, universal characters and patterns that live in what he called the collective unconscious. These archetypes aren't just random ideas. They're like mythological blueprints, shaping our desires, our personalities, and even our life path. Now imagine for a second, what if your favorite color was a kind of personal portal into that deeper realm? What if it revealed which of these archetypes lives most vividly inside you? Let's take a journey into the meaning behind color through the lens of Jungian psychology. Because once you see what your favorite color might be telling you about yourself, your relationships, your challenges, and your calling, you won't look at color the same way again. The color code, how Jung linked color and archetype. Ever notice how some colors just make you feel more alive? Maybe you feel calm and grounded in earthy greens, or energized and bold when you're surrounded by reds. Or maybe you find yourself always going back to deep blues, soft pastels, or mysterious dark tones, even when you're not thinking about it. Well, according to Jungian thought, that attraction isn't random. Although Carl Jung never designed a system of color archetypes the way we might imagine a modern personality quiz, he was deeply invested in the way symbols, and by extension colors, show us what's going on beneath the surface. In fact, he saw colors as symbolic expressions of psychological states, not just pretty visuals, but clues to the archetypes living in us. He believed every person carries within them the energy of various archetypes, figures like the lover, the warrior, the sage, the explorer, and more. These aren't just roles we play. They're ancient blueprints that guide how we think, feel, and show up in the world. And interestingly, the colors we're drawn to might echo the energy of these internal characters. So when someone asks you, "What's your favorite color?" that might not be such a casual question after all. It could actually be a gateway into your psyche. Let's explore. Red, the archetype of the passionate creator. If red is your go-to color, the one that lights you up, you might be carrying the fire of Jung's warrior or lover archetype. Red is bold, primal, and impossible to ignore, and that's kind of how you move through life, isn't it? People who love red often have this undeniable presence. You walk into a room and people feel you before you even say a word. You carry intensity, passion, courage. There's a drive in you to experience life at full volume. Jung believed that our behaviors, our passions, and our preferences are shaped by what he called archetypal energies living in the collective unconscious. And red, across all cultures, is the color of energy, danger, power, and love. It's the blood in our veins, the heat of the sun, the spark of creation. So if you find yourself drawn to red, you probably don't do anything halfway. You don't just want to exist, you want to live, fully, loudly, with meaning. You're the type who runs toward challenge, not away from it. And while others may hesitate or second guess, you're already in motion, leading, inspiring, acting. Now here's the interesting part. Jung would likely say that red isn't just your favorite color, it's your dominant function. That's a Jungian term for the psychological function you naturally rely on, like feeling, thinking, sensing, or intuition. If red is your color, you may be ruled by a strong extroverted feeling or sensing function, meaning you feel things deeply and express them openly. You react fast, and you live in your body as much as your mind. But with all that fire comes a warning. Jung taught that every archetype has a shadow. For those who resonate with red, that shadow might look like burnout, impulsivity, or emotional overload. Your passion, if not tempered, can consume you or leave others scorched. And that's not a flaw. It's simply a call to maturity, a sign that your power needs direction. Jung believed that true psychological growth, what he called individuation, happens when we integrate both the light and shadow of our dominant archetypes. For red types, that means learning to channel your fire, not suppress it, but refine it. Learning when to push and when to pause. Knowing that true strength isn't always loud. It can be quiet, focused, and intentional. Because in the end, red isn't just about power, it's also about love, about life force, about creation. And if you're someone who's always reaching, burning, striving, feeling, maybe red is your reminder that your soul came here to ignite something in the world. Blue, the archetype of the intuitive explorer. Now let's talk about blue. If you're the type of person that gravitates toward deep blues, soft sky tones, or even cool indigos, Jung might say you carry the energy of the explorer or the visionary. Blue is the color of the ocean and the sky, vast, open, and always moving. And just like that, you probably have a natural openness about you, a curiosity that doesn't quit, a longing to understand what lies beyond. Jung believed that some people are driven not by stability, but by discovery. If red is about doing, blue is about seeking. You're the type who asks big questions, who finds meaning in the unknown, and who's okay with not having all the answers, because for you, the journey is the answer. Across cultures, blue has symbolized truth, peace, and depth. In Jungian terms, this resonates with what he called the intuitive function, especially the extroverted kind. That's the ability to see connections between things others might miss, to sense a bigger pattern, to read between the lines of life. And because of that, people drawn to blue often have an almost mystical way of moving through the world. You don't crash into things, you flow. You're adaptable, reflective, and quietly wise. You don't dominate rooms, you change them just by being there. But blue also has its shadow. Your gift for seeing so many possibilities can sometimes make you hesitant, unsure. You might struggle to commit, always chasing the next idea, the next path, the next experience. Jung would say this is the challenge of being led by your intuitive function. It opens many doors, but sometimes forgets to walk through them. And that's the growth path for those who love blue, learning how to ground your vision, to bring your dreams into form, to stay long enough to see what happens after the inspiration fades. Jung taught that true transformation happens when we synthesize opposites. For blue lovers, that means finding the dance between flow and focus, between openness and structure, between seeking and staying. And when you do, you become a force, not just a dreamer, but a builder of dreams.
Let's continue our journey by stepping into one of the most mysterious and complex colors of all, purple. If you're someone who loves purple, whether it's deep royal shades or soft lilacs, you may carry what Carl Jung would recognize as the mystic or the mediator archetype. This is the realm of complexity, duality, and depth. And if that resonates, it makes sense. Purple is literally made from two psychological giants, red and blue, fire and water, passion and intuition. And somehow, you carry both. Purple isn't just a color, it's a paradox. People who are drawn to purple often feel like they live between worlds. Maybe you've always felt like you didn't quite fit in with any one group, role, or label, like you're a little bit of everything. At times, this can feel isolating, but Jung would say that's actually your strength. He believed that one of the most powerful psychological states is the union of opposites, a concept he called the conjunctio oppositorum. That's a fancy way of saying true transformation happens when we embrace the paradoxes inside us. If you love purple, you probably understand that instinctively. You can see two sides to a story. You can hold space for complexity. You can honor what's spiritual and what's grounded, what's felt, and what's logical. That's not indecision, that's integration. And Jung would say your gift lies in that exact ability to bridge gaps, to translate between realms. You're likely someone people come to for understanding, for emotional support, or for guidance through life's gray areas. You might be a natural healer, artist, counselor, or connector of ideas. But of course, even purple has a shadow. With so much nuance comes the danger of getting lost in your own inner labyrinth. Jung might say you struggle with what he called an introverted intuitive loop. Basically, you're so attuned to possibility that you spin in circles, unsure which path to follow. Decisions can feel like betrayals of all the other paths you didn't take. So your journey, according to Jung, isn't just to understand everyone else, it's to also claim your own center, to stop dissolving into every situation and start forming boundaries. The mystic and the mediator must eventually learn to choose, to say, this is me, this is my path. And when you do, you become a kind of guide, a soul who knows how to walk between worlds and still come home to themselves. In relationships, you're likely an incredibly empathetic partner. You feel people deeply, and you often sense what isn't being said. But your challenge is to not disappear into others' emotions. Jung would encourage you to stay grounded in your own truth, even as you hold space for someone else's. Your love for purple isn't random. It's a signal, a whisper from the unconscious that says you are a bridge, an alchemist, a healer of divisions. Let's keep going. Green, the primordial warrior of balance. Now imagine standing in a forest, surrounded by green, by life itself. If that vision makes your soul breathe a little deeper, you might be a green type. In Jungian terms, green is the color of the guardian, the warrior, the one who protects and nourishes life. People who are drawn to green are often grounded, resilient, connected deeply to the rhythms of nature and the body. You're the type who finds peace in simplicity, in the scent of fresh rain, the feel of the earth, or the cycles of growth. Green is about balance. It's the steady heartbeat of the earth. And Jung would say that if you love green, you probably carry a strong sensing function, meaning you trust what you can touch, see, taste. You're in tune with the here and now. While others chase abstract ideas, you're asking, what's real? What's practical? What's true? This groundedness is a superpower. You bring stability to chaotic situations. You have a calming presence that others naturally lean on. In relationships, you're likely loyal, dependable, and quietly wise. You don't make a fuss, but you show up, and people feel that. Jung would recognize you as someone embodying the archetype of the hero, not the loud, flashy kind, but the kind who protects what matters, who builds, tends, and defends. You're not chasing fame or glory, you're nurturing gardens, real or metaphorical. But yes, even green has its shadow. Sometimes your need for stability can turn into rigidity. You may resist change, cling to routines, or avoid anything that feels too uncertain. Jung would describe this as the danger of being over-identified with your sensing function, relying so much on what's familiar that you ignore the deeper call of the unknown. Your growth path? It's about trusting change. Learning that growth isn't just about building, but also about letting go. That sometimes a forest needs fire to renew. In your professional life, you're likely drawn to fields that involve healing, teaching, caretaking, or environmental work. Jung would say this is no accident. You're here to safeguard life, in whatever form that takes. And in your quiet, grounded way, you remind the rest of us that strength doesn't have to shout, that being rooted is just as powerful as being radiant. You are the presence that stays when others run, the calm in the chaos, the hands that build when the world is crumbling. Yellow, the messenger of joy and clarity. Now let's brighten things up. If you're someone who lights up around yellow, if you love the warmth of sunlight, the spark of inspiration, the thrill of a new idea, Jung might say you carry the energy of the messenger or the visionary archetype. Yellow is the color of the mind. It's clarity. It's optimism. It's the electric current of insight that comes out of nowhere and changes everything. Those drawn to yellow often have a radiant energy. You're likely curious, witty, and mentally agile. You love asking questions, seeing connections, and playing with new concepts. There's something magnetic about your presence, like sunlight breaking through a cloudy day. Jung would say you might be ruled by a thinking intuition axis, meaning your dominant strengths involve processing ideas, seeing possibilities, and communicating them.
Let's step into the color that holds the most mystery of all, black. If you're someone who's consistently drawn to black, whether in your wardrobe, your decor, or just as a mood, Jung would say you may carry the energy of the magician or the protector archetype. Black isn't just absence, it's presence, it's depth, it's the space where transformation happens. Think about it. Black is the night before the dawn. It's the soil before the sprout. It's the hidden cave where the hero meets the dragon and themselves. In Jungian terms, those who gravitate toward black often carry profound inner strength. You're likely introspective, composed, and fiercely private. You don't reveal yourself easily, not because you're hiding, but because you understand the value of silence, the importance of mystery. You're not loud, but you're powerful. Jung believed that black connects us with what he called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress or ignore. But for those drawn to black, the shadow isn't something to fear, it's something to explore. You might have an uncanny ability to sit with discomfort, to feel at home in emotional or psychological depth. And because of that, others may come to you for wisdom they can't find anywhere else. But black carries a shadow too. Ironically, it's the risk of staying in shadow. Sometimes in protecting ourselves, we become isolated. Sometimes in hiding our vulnerability, we forget how to connect. Jung would say that your path isn't just to master the darkness, but to use it, to bring light from it. The true magician doesn't disappear into the void. They come out of it with truth. In relationships, you may come across as mysterious, controlled, or even intimidating. But beneath that, there's often a tenderness that longs to be seen. Jung would encourage you to let others into your inner world, not at once, but enough to remind you you don't have to carry it all alone. Professionally, you're probably someone who thrives in roles that involve depth, whether that's psychology, philosophy, research, design, or leadership. You're someone who moves with intention, who thinks deeply, who doesn't settle for surface-level anything. Black is your sacred space, but the ultimate power is in knowing when to emerge from it. White, the spirit of renewal and infinite potential. Now, let's flip to the other side of the spectrum, white. If you're drawn to white, snowy landscapes, minimalist design, clean slates, Jung would say you carry the archetype of the spirit or the reborn. White isn't empty, it's full of possibility. It's the breath before the beginning. White symbolizes purity, peace, simplicity, But don't confuse that with weakness. Jung believed that real transformation requires a return to essence, to the raw, unmarked truth. And white, at its core, is a space of becoming. You might be someone who craves clarity, who feels overwhelmed by clutter, externally and emotionally, who seeks meaning in silence, in stillness, in the simple. You're likely a deep feeler, even if you don't always show it. You're someone who wants to feel clean inside, to live in alignment. Jung would say you carry a strong connection to the transcendent function, the psychological mechanism that reconciles opposites and brings new insight. You're the one who sees through the noise, who strips away the extra to find what truly matters. But white too has its shadow. In the pursuit of peace, you might avoid discomfort. You might stay on the surface rather than dive into the mess. Jung would warn that healing doesn't come from erasing the past, but from integrating it. True clarity doesn't come from avoiding the storm. It comes from walking through it and still choosing the light. In relationships, white lovers often bring calm, grace, and forgiveness. But you may also need to let yourself be fully seen, to allow your imperfections to exist without shame, to know that love doesn't require you to be perfect, just present. Professionally, you might be drawn to roles that involve vision, ethics, healing, or artistry. You're likely honest, purpose, and intention in your work. And in a chaotic world, you bring a sense of reset, of quiet strength. White is your pause, your breath, your invitation to begin again, not as someone new, but as someone more true. Orange, the artist of passion and joy. Finally, let's dive into one of the most vibrant colors in the spectrum, orange. If you're pulled toward orange, Jung might say you embody the artist or the lover archetype. You live through your senses. You love to feel alive, and your presence, it's magnetic. Orange is the color of sunset, of glowing embers, of spice and laughter and celebration. People who love orange are often highly expressive. You likely find meaning in experiences, good food, deep conversations, creative expression, romance, and adventure. You're probably someone who doesn't just exist in life, you savor it. In Jungian terms, orange lovers might be led by the extroverted feeling or sensing functions. You're tuned into people, to energy, to the moment, and you bring warmth wherever you go. When others are serious, you laugh. When others hold back, you open up. You're the spark that turns an ordinary moment into a memory. But just like any archetype, orange has a shadow. In your love of connection and pleasure, you can sometimes become avoidance. Maybe you chase the high and avoid the low. Maybe you give so much of yourself that you forget to slow down and feel your own needs. Jung would say your journey is about balance, letting your joy be deep, not just bright. In relationships, orange lovers often bring passion, affection, and emotional attunement. But your challenge is to not burn too fast or too hot, to learn that intimacy isn't just chemistry, it's consistency. Professionally, you thrive in creative spaces. You're likely a natural storyteller, artist, performer, or connector. You bring heart, you bring flavor, you bring life. Jung would call your energy animating. It wakes people up, it stirs the soul. And when you embrace your full spectrum, both light and shadow, you become a source of joy and depth, passion and peace. Bringing it all together, the language of your soul. So, what does your favorite color say about you? Maybe it's red, fueled by desire, courage, and action. Maybe it's blue, drawn to intuition, truth, and exploration. Maybe it's purple, sacred space for complexity, depth, and integration. Maybe it's green, steady, grounded, and connected to life's cycles. Or yellow, sparkling with ideas, clarity, and radiant joy. Maybe you love black, the mystery, the quiet strength, the sacred unknown. Or white, the breath before the beginning, the spirit of renewal. Or orange, the full-body embrace of life, art, and connection. The truth is, you don't have to pick one. Jung would say you carry all of these archetypes inside you. But the colors you're drawn to most, those are the ones calling for your attention right now. They're reflections of the energy your soul wants to express, or maybe the parts of you waiting to be remembered. This isn't about putting yourself in a box. It's about opening a window. Your color preferences are more than aesthetics. They're symbols, invitations, clues from the collective unconscious, trying to guide you toward individuation. That's Jung's word for becoming whole. Not perfect, not polished, whole. So the next time someone asks, "What's your favorite color?" don't just give them a name. Smile, because now you know that color isn't just what your eyes see, it's what your soul knows.